There is a moment almost every dog owner has lived but rarely talks about. The moment they first met their dog, and something inside them, older than reason, older than language, quietly said, "Oh, there you are." Maybe it was at a shelter. Maybe it was the runt of a litter who walked straight to you while you stood there, pretending to consider all the others. Maybe it was a stray who followed you home one day and somehow, against every plan you had, never left. Whatever it was, you remember it. Not because it was logical, because it wasn't. Because for one strange second, it didn't feel like you were choosing a dog. It felt like you were being recognized. And here is what science has now begun to confirm, and what every ancient spiritual tradition has always known. The bond between a human and their dog is not like other bonds on this earth. It is not similar. It is unlike anything else. And the reason it exists, the reason it is so deep, the reason it can heal what no human relationship has ever been able to reach, is older, stranger, and more sacred than most people are ever told. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, especially when we get to the fourth reason, you will understand exactly why God or the universe or whatever you call the force that sets things in motion placed this specific dog in your specific life. And once you see it, you will never look at the soul sleeping beside you the same way again. Go back 5,000 years, 10,000. As far back as humans have left a record of what they believed. In ancient Egypt, the god Anubis, guardian of souls, wore the head of a jackal. Dogs were not pets in that civilization. They were guides. The ones trusted to walk the dead through the darkness into whatever came next. Not priests, not kings, dogs. In Hindu tradition, the god Bhairava is depicted with a dog as his eternal companion, said to recognize the soul of every being who passes. In Catholic tradition, Saint Roch was healed by a dog who brought him bread when he was dying alone in a forest, and he is now the patron saint of the sick. In Native American traditions across 2 continents, dogs were spirit guides, capable of seeing what human eyes could not. In Norse myth, the dog Garmr stood guard at the entrance to the next world. Now ask yourself something. Why would cultures that never met, separated by oceans and centuries and language, all arrive at the same exact conclusion? That dogs stand at the threshold between this world and something deeper. That is not coincidence. That is a truth so old it found its way into every corner of the earth on its own, because it needed to be remembered. And modern neuroscience, Dr. Gregory Berns at Emory University, scanning the brains of awake dogs, has now begun to confirm what those traditions always said. There is something in the dog's nervous system that is wired specifically for us, not for survival, not for food, for us, as if they were built to find their human, to know their human, to walk beside their human through whatever came next. Here are the 7 reasons that soul was placed in your life. Most of us were taught love came with conditions. Be good and we will love you. Behave and we will stay. Fail us and there are consequences. Even from the people who loved us most, this lesson got in. It taught us to perform, to earn, to hold something back, just in case. And then a dog walked into your life, and every rule you ever learned about love started to come apart. You can leave a dog alone for 8 hours and come home to the exact same celebration you would receive if you had been gone a year. You can lose your temper, raise your voice, slam a door, and an hour later their head is on your knee as if it never happened. You can be the worst version of yourself, the one no one else gets to see, and they will love that version exactly as much as the version you show the world. If a human loved you that way, you would call it extraordinary. You would write about it. You would search for it your whole life, and it has been lying at your feet this entire time. This is the first reason your dog was placed in your life. Not to entertain you, not even to keep you company, to show you, every single day, what love looks like when nothing is asked in return, so that one day, maybe, you would learn to give that same love to yourself. There were nights, you remember them, when you cried alone in your house and there was no human you could call. Nights when you sat on the bathroom floor or the edge of the bed or the corner of the couch, and the silence felt unbearable. And in that silence, before you had said a word, before you had even decided whether you were going to cry or hold it in, your dog appeared. Not because they heard sobbing. They were there before the sobbing. They had felt it long before you did. And they came over, the way they always do. And they pressed against you. And they did not move. They did not need you to explain. They did not need you to fix anything. They did not need you to be okay. They just stayed. Veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder say this saved their lives. People in the deepest seasons of grief say their dog was the only being who knew how broken they really were. And almost every single dog owner, somewhere in their history, has a memory of a dark night when their dog was the only witness to their suffering and the only one who refused to leave. This is the second reason. They were placed in your life so that the versions of you nobody else would ever see would still have someone present for them, someone who would never tell, someone who would never judge, someone who would only love. And that brings us to one of the most strange, most quietly miraculous reasons of all. The one that researchers can measure but cannot fully explain. The one that, in many cases, is the reason you are still alive. There are dogs who have detected cancer in their owners months before any doctor or any machine could find it. This is not folklore. Researchers at Medical Detection Dogs in the United Kingdom and at multiple universities across the world have now confirmed it in controlled studies. Dogs can smell certain cancers in human breath with accuracy that exceeds some laboratory equipment. There are dogs who have woken sleeping families before a fire reached the bedroom. There are dogs who have alerted their owners to seizures up to 20 minutes before the seizure occurred, long before any medical device could predict it. There are dogs who have refused to let their person walk into a room, only for the family to discover, hours later, what was waiting inside. And in spiritual traditions across the world, dogs have always been described the same way. Tibetan Buddhism considers them protectors against negative energy. Early Christianity made them symbols of watchful devotion. Almost every ancient culture believed that dogs perceive what human eyes cannot. Have you ever watched your dog growl at an empty corner? Refuse to walk into a room that seemed perfectly normal? React to a person with sudden unease before that person had done anything to earn it? Most people brush it off. Most spiritual traditions would tell you not to, because your dog is awake to dimensions of your reality that you cannot perceive. They were placed in your life, in part, to stand guard over the things you cannot see. The chemistry shifting in your body, the energy shifting in a room, the danger walking up to your door before you have heard the knock. Whatever you call it, biology, intuition, the divine, they have it, and it has been protecting you for as long as they have been with you. This is the fourth reason, and it is the one most owners will feel in their chest before their mind catches up. Humans spend fortunes on therapy, on retreats, on meditation apps, on books about mindfulness. We pay people to teach us how to stop dragging the past into every conversation, how to stop losing the present moment to fear of the future, how to be here, just here. Your dog woke up this morning and did all of it, for free, without trying. There was no anxiety about what happened last week, no dread about what might happen tomorrow, no replaying old wounds, no rehearsing future arguments, just this walk, just this smell, just this sunbeam on the floor, just this person right in front of them, who is, as far as they're concerned, the entire reason the universe exists today. That is not a small thing to live with. That is a teacher in your home. A teacher who has never read a book on enlightenment, but is doing it every single day while you watch. And here is what the spiritual traditions agree on. Presence is not a skill you can think your way into. It is something you absorb from being near it. The Buddhists call it transmission. The Christian mystics called it grace. Whatever you call it, the dog at your feet has been transmitting it to you in silence for as long as they have been alive. They were placed in your life to remind you every single day that you are allowed to be here, just here, in this moment, with them, with yourself, with nothing else demanded of you. Most humans walk through the world wearing armor we built so long ago we forgot we were wearing it. The face we put on for strangers, the performance of being fine, the careful distance we keep because closeness has cost us before. And then a dog walks into a room, and watch what happens. Walls come down. People who would not have spoken to each other start speaking. Someone bends down to pet them, and suddenly there is a conversation, a laugh, a moment of connection that would not have existed without that dog walking through the door. Researchers at Harvard and at the University of Western Australia, in independent studies, found that dog owners are significantly, not slightly, significantly, more likely to know their neighbors, form friendships in their community, and report feeling connected to the people around them. The dog becomes a bridge between isolated human beings who were standing feet apart and never finding their way across. Spiritually, this is enormous. Almost every wisdom tradition on earth says that the root of human suffering is disconnection from each other, from ourselves, from the divine. And here is this small creature, with no philosophy and no agenda, undoing that disconnection wherever they go. Simply by being open. Simply by being unguarded in a world that has forgotten how to be either. They were placed in your life not just to love you, but to soften the world around you. To give the strangers near you an excuse to smile. To remind you that the walls you built were never the only option. That there is still a version of being human that does not require armor. And now we get to the strangest, most haunting reason of all. The one that no human relationship has ever been able to teach you in quite the same way. Most of us, by the time we are adults, have been let down. By people we trusted completely. By relationships we believed were permanent. By versions of the world we were told we could rely on. And those betrayals teach us, slowly and quietly, to love with one hand open and one hand ready. Then you watch your dog wait by the door at the same time every single day, because that is when you come home. Even on the days you are late, even on the days you forget, they are there, patient, certain, believing, without any evidence, that you are coming, that you always come, that you would never not come. In 1925, in Tokyo, a professor named Hidesaburo Ueno died of a brain hemorrhage at work. He never came home. His dog, an Akita named Hachiko, walked to Shibuya train station that evening to meet him, the way he always did. His person never arrived. So Hachiko came back the next day, and the next, and the next. For 9 years and 9 months, every single afternoon, Hachiko returned to that station and waited. He died there, in that same spot in 1935. A statue stands there now. People leave flowers at it nearly 100 years later, and many of them cry, even people who never owned a dog, because something in that story reaches a part of the human heart that recognizes it without needing to be explained. That is what faithfulness looks like when it has no conditions attached to it. And if there is a dog in your life right now, you are living with that level of devotion. Not in a history book, not in a statue, in your home, following you from room to room, waiting for you, choosing you, every single day, without question. Do not take that lightly. Not everyone in this world has been chosen like that. They were placed in your life to show you that this kind of love still exists, so that you would never have to wonder again whether it was real. This is the 7th reason, and it is the hardest. Because to understand it, you have to face something most owners spend their entire relationship with their dog trying not to think about. Your dog will not be with you for your whole life. They never were going to be. From the day you met them, the timeline was already drawn. They live a fraction of what you live. 10 years, 15 if you are lucky. And then one day, the most unconditional love you have ever known walks out a door you cannot follow. This is, on the surface, the cruelest part of having a dog. And yet, somehow, every spiritual tradition that has ever spoken about dogs treats this short timeline not as cruelty but as design. Some teachers believe certain souls choose their lives before they arrive. That the relationships that matter most, the ones that crack us open, that heal what we did not know was broken, that show us who we are when no human is watching, those are agreed upon before the first breath. They call them soul contracts, chosen meetings. If that is true, then your dog is not here by accident. They are not even here for the length of their life by accident. They came knowing exactly how long they would have. They came knowing they would not be there for everything that came after. And they came anyway. Because the season of your life that they were here for was the season they were sent for. They were placed in your life to walk you through something specific, maybe a loss, maybe a healing, maybe a long, slow becoming that no human in your life had the patience to witness. And when their work with you is done, they go, not because they did not love you enough to stay, because they loved you enough to make sure you were ready before they did. And what they leave behind is not nothing. The love is real. The patience they modeled is now part of you. The presence they transmitted is now in your nervous system. They live on in who you became while they were with you. The version of you they helped build is the version that walks forward, carrying them after they are gone. So tonight, when your dog looks at you from across the room, really looks at you, with that quiet, steady gaze, understand this. They did not come into your life for food. They did not come for a roof. They did not come for entertainment, or for the long walks, or for the warm spot at the end of the bed. They came to show you what unconditional love looks like when no one is asking anything in return. They came to be present for the versions of you that no one else was there for. They came to see what you cannot see. They came to teach you how to be here. They came to dissolve the walls around you. They came to show you what faithfulness looks like when it has no conditions. And they came to walk you through one specific season of your life, knowing they could not stay for the next one. They came because you were going to need them. And whoever or whatever set this in motion knew that long before you did. That dog at your feet right now is not an accident. They are an answer. And the question they came to answer was you. If this video reached you, leave your dog's name in the comments. Sometimes saying it out loud is its own kind of prayer. And if you would like to spend more time inside what your dog is actually here for, the next video will already be waiting for you.